G'day. Are we comfortable? I hope we're comfortable. Welcome to my very first channel update. Something I've been meaning to make for a long time, despite my small amount of content. I want to note that I am going to speak off the cuff for this one. I haven't written a script. I've just written a brief page of notes, which is an unusual methodology for me to follow, but I thought it might suit this, more relaxed channel update kind of a dealio. And for the update, I'm going to just use random bits of game footage that I recorded, mostly from games that probably never got made into videos for one reason or another. Probably games that I planned to make into videos and fell through for life reasons usually. Before I really get into it, I do want to note that I was meant to make a video on Starfield. I've been trying to make a video on Starfield for a year, and I'm about 25,000 words into the script, and they dropped the vehicle update and they announced the first DLC coming out, which is, on me for taking so long to make the video. But, I think it's better if I just, at this point, wait for the DLC to come out, play and record that, and release a video, that's somewhat timely to the DLC. Although I need to note that I'm going to be moving soon, so it's probably still not going to be that timely to the DLC's release, particularly compared to, more professional, better YouTubers. But nevertheless, before the end of the year, I should have a Starfield video out. It's definitely not going to be my next video, however, like I said it would be in the System Shock video. So apologies about that, but I think it is the better call to wait for that DLC and make a video with that included than it is to just release one now and have the DLC around the corner. So what videos are around the corner? Well, I'm going to release a tiny, teeny little video on the Bolt Gun update, or, well, less update. It was just some new maps that were released for it that I played through and recorded, and I enjoyed. There probably isn't much to say about that, but I did record it. I can knock out a little video about it, so I will. But the next actual proper videos will be on Space Marine, and then Space Marine 2, which I'm highly anticipating. I've almost finished Space Marine, so I'm quite happy to be making a video about that, and hopefully, fingers crossed, I can get it out before Space Marine 2 is released, or at least around about the time Space Marine 2 is released, and hopefully I can get a video out on Space Marine 2, before the end of October, which I know once again isn't very timely for a game that releases the 10th of September, but yeah, I'm going to be pretty busy, and everything always takes longer than I think it's going to. So, hopefully it'll be out by the end of October at the very least, but expect the double whammy, a video on Space Marine, a video on Space Marine 2. There's also a video going to come out, which I don't know exactly when, about some games I've finished recently that are some more typing games from Fishing Cactus. I reviewed one of their games last year sometime, and I played a few more typing games of theirs after I got a new keyboard. So I'm going to be putting together a tiny little package about that as well. And also, I might be sometime, maybe at the end of the year or early next year, be releasing a video about my first non-PC game, something that I think will be extraordinarily rare on this channel. But yes, I have been recording gameplay from a console title, so that might come in the next 6 months at some point. The first thing I want to talk about is I want to answer the question, why am I making a channel update for a channel that has no followers, has one video that's gotten 1,000 views, which we know is nothing on YouTube, given that most of those views are people who click off in the first few minutes. So, I'm making a channel update for essentially nobody. I've got 35 followers. I think 10 of those aren't family and friends. But I'm making it more for me than I am for any theoretical viewers I may have or might not have. It's just part of a serious artistic practice, if you get what I mean. As much as this is artistic, if I want to make a real go at this sincerely, and I want to make it into a channel that you can respect and I can respect, I need to take it seriously, and I need to have a serious vision for what I'm doing. And that means sometimes stopping and reflecting. I think I'm about 2 years since I started this channel, and I've got way less videos than I ever hoped I would, and I will talk about why that is later. Spoilers, it's life. But what I'm trying to do here is basically lay down what's going on with this channel, what I hope to achieve with the channel, what I hope it means for me, and sort of why I'm doing things and what my methodology is. It's like when you're at school and your art teacher makes you write a diary, a journal, and then marks you on that journal. It's a little bit like that, except I'm doing it to myself. One of the other big reasons I'm making this is so that I can come back and I can listen to this later when I've hopefully got a lot more videos and achieved a lot more a few years down the track, and I may be making another channel update, and I can, compare and contrast from where I was to where I am. Who knows how much better, or I don't know, even worse things might be by that point. And I think that will be very valuable. Primarily, I'm also doing this to crystallize maybe some of my goals for the future and where I'm going with this video. If I actually, record a video about some of the things I hope to achieve and put it out there, then that's that extra bit of pressure and motivation to actually follow through. And also, once again, with that compare and contrast thing, then I can see, this is what I wanted to do, and this is actually what I ended up doing. Where do I go from here? And I think that's quite a valuable thing to do. And finally, there is the thing that isn't to do with me, so that maybe others one day, say I do succeed at this and I do end up with a fair amount of followers who actually really like what I do, they can go back to the real early days, which is now, and they can listen to this and be like, oh, wow, that's what's going on in the early days. I mean, I know that doesn't sound too interesting, but people do that kind of thing with successful YouTube channels, I've noticed. So I want to put this out there just on the off chance that I do have an audience and somebody does want to check it out and see where I'm at and connect with me a little bit more. And I do think there is that aspect to it, that parasocial connection, as they call it. This should hopefully help to, humanize that connection a little bit more. So I mentioned just before that, my channel, I've not really made anywhere near the amount of videos that I kind of thought I would make and that I want to make. And that's basically due to life and how busy I am and my circumstances. So I guess I'll tell you a story about what's been going on with me, which is about 2 years ago, I got really fed up with the job I had and the position I was in and where I was going, and it became obvious to me that I needed to work on something for the future that actually appealed to me personally and wasn't just a job I was doing. I work in the entertainment industry in my country, and I really like the entertainment industry. I've worked behind the scenes in the entertainment industry most of my life, and I really enjoy that kind of work. It's just that anyone who works in entertainment in any country probably understands that you do crazy hours and you do crazy shifts, and the crazy shifts often result in, even when you do seem like you've got, I don't know, say like 2 or 3 days off, well, you might have just done a week of, I don't know, overnight shifts till dawn, and then you've got to swing back into like getting up before dawn to do really early morning shifts. Or maybe you might do like one overnight shift, a day off, one early morning shift, a day off, one overnight shift. And So even when you get free time, you often spend so much of that time just recovering or trying to move your sleeping schedule around so that you can make the next shift realistically with some sleep under your belt, that it becomes really hard to do anything other than some basic household chores, let alone play video games, let alone write about video games, let alone edit videos and record. So that is a big reason why I haven't made as much as I had hoped I would. Another huge reason is that February last year, around Feb last year, I moved. My situation's changed. Anyone who watched, I think, my Minecraft video would know that I used to live in an art collective in a city, and me and my partner decided to move out of that situation and start our own household together, which has been a really positive, great thing for us. But tell you what, just like organizing getting out of that situation where I was the leaseholder on the space and moving into a new situation involving all the just extricating myself from the existing situation and setting up the new one. I mean, it involved a huge amount of time, effort, and money, all that while juggling the shift work. And on top of that, where I moved to is very far away from where I lived. It's like over an hour. And now I commute into the city over that hour, which means that whenever I have a shift, I'm traveling at least 2 hours each way in time just to work. So that means, you know, even if I do a short shift, it still knocks out a whole day usually. And a long shift knocks out like a day and a half. So even if I'm only working 3 or 4 days in a week, I still don't have much time left in a week to do things like make videos. So with all of that, I have made way less videos than I thought I would, which is a shame, but oh well. Also, my old circumstance that I used to live in was less than ideal. You might have heard like airplanes and a lot of background noise in my recordings. I tried my best to edit them out and not capture them, but it was kind of impossible not to. In my new circumstances, I don't have to deal with background noise so much, and my recording situation is much better. It's been refined a little bit, my process has been refined a little bit, and I hope to continue to grow and refine those processes. But nevertheless, it's been a bit of a learning curve, and that's also slowed things down a lot, essentially. So the big news is I am now moving again, but I'm not moving very far away from where I live now. Me and my partner have successfully had a bank buy a house on our behalf. We're becoming mortgage people, which is very exciting. My first home. But it does mean we have to move again, which obviously will probably make making videos around that time very hard. My September coming up is extremely busy. I've got a lot of shifts, over 40 hours most weeks, plus all that travel time. That means I'm not going to have much time to squeeze making videos in, plus with the move coming up in October. That does mean I'm going to be pushing it to try and release much in that time, but I'm going to give it a red hot go. But the hope is, in my new situation that I'm moving to, which will be my like permanently settled situation for at least a significant amount of time, I don't know, at least 10 years I reckon before we sell and move again, the Lord willing that the world stays in good condition. That means hopefully that once I'm past October, sort of September, maybe the end of the year, if you want to give me a bit of leeway for setting things up, then I can really sort of settle into my lifestyle, my circumstances, and really figure out the process. And I'm hoping that means that I can finally begin to pump videos out a bit more regularly. With this long form video thing, I don't know, probably not always like one video a month, which was my original vision way back in the day when I started this 2 years ago. did I didn't finish. I said I was unhappy in my job 2 years ago, so I started this. But did I tell you I changed jobs as well as moving? Which is fine. I mean, I've got a much better job now, and I really enjoy that. But it is still really far away. I'm still working backstage in the entertainment industry on shows, which is great, but doesn't leave me heaps of time to indulge in my hobbies, particularly once you include, your daily chores like washing and cooking dinner and spending time with your loved ones, etc. Speaking of loved ones, another reason I haven't had that much time recently is me and my partner got a puppy not too long ago, a couple of months ago, and that's been pretty full on. It definitely takes up a lot of time, particularly when they're young. As they settle into your classic dog mode, they're a little bit less high maintenance, and he's beginning to settle down into that less high maintenance mode now, although I hear we have to fear him hitting his teenage years where apparently they regress back into being quite high maintenance for a little while. So yeah, walking the dog, getting him up in the middle of the night so he can go to the bathroom and all that also eats into time I could be making videos. There are times when I try to go in here and sit down just to play a video game and record it to make a video, let alone make one, and the dog whines and barks and complains because he needs to be played with until he gets exhausted enough to go to sleep. So that's been happening as well, and as a result, I've only released, 2 videos this year. That doesn't sound very impressive, but one of those videos is 7 hours long, so I'm not really that ashamed about that. And I hope you understand that. One thing I find really cool about this choice I've made to make these long form videos is, sure, you don't get many viewers, and you get even less viewers who stick around, but those viewers who do stick around for a long time. And the metric that I'm most excited about, and the only metric that I really care about for my channel, as opposed to, subscribers or viewers, the one that actually matters to me is total hours watched on my channel. And I have almost 300 total hours watched, which, for a channel that's got in total less than 2,000 views, I think that's pretty amazing, a pretty amazing ratio. And that says to me that, I'm on the right track. I'm really happy about that. That is a fantastic metric for me, that for the tiny little niche audience that I am aiming at with my content, I must be hitting somewhere in the right ballpark to have, out of 2,000 clicks, 300 hours of actual view time achieved. Now, whether people are sleeping to the videos or whatever, I'm not really, that concerned about. But I'm just over the moon that even with just 7 videos published, less than 2,000 views, 300 hours of total view time is just amazing, and it says I'm on the right track. And I hope very much that in the future that one metric will continue to rise, even if the other ones don't particularly. There are much more successful channels that make way more appealing, smaller content that might not have anything like 300 hours. Maybe they only make 30-second videos. So I really like that. So one of the reasons that my videos take ages to make is that they're long, obviously, and I'm sure anyone watching these kind of videos is well across that this is a genre of video on YouTube that I am far from pioneering. I am a decade late to the party in terms of the long form video. So that begs the question, why would you even try when you're so late to the party here? How will you ever differentiate yourself there's a lot of people making long form videos on YouTube, and clearly I don't really have the time to compete with them. Well, the answer to that is because it's what I want to do. Like, I can't think of a better way to potentially one day make a living. Like, and I honestly, like, that's a clear goal for me. One day I really would love to make a living doing this, which, I'm very far away from achieving at this point in my life. But if I keep at it, you never know, maybe one day, maybe I'll get there. And, if I can get to the point where I hit that critical mass where, the occasional person wants to actually, like, give me a bit of money, every little bit I can get that way. And believe me, I'm nowhere near that. Even having, like, one person chuck me $1, I'm probably years away from even that, getting to that point. But if I can get to a point where, I'm not making a living from it, but I'm getting chucked a little bit of money, enough that I don't need to take as many shifts working behind the scenes in entertainment, that means that just frees up a lot more time for me to actually make more videos and then begin to build more momentum for the channel. So for me, the vision, I hope at some point the channel begins to do well enough and produce well enough that it can start actually feeding back to itself in terms of liberating my time enough to make videos more quickly, which then actually attracts more of the viewers I'm looking to appeal to and retain, and so on and so forth. And eventually one day maybe it would allow me to do this full time, because I honestly cannot think of a better lifestyle that would make me a happier, more fulfilled human being than playing video games, writing extensively about each game I play, and then talking about them, and hopefully like encouraging discussion about them. Discussion about video games is really like, it's like one of my favorite things. It's what I grew up doing, like in the playground with my friends. And if, I don't need to be right about video games. Sorry. I don't need to be right about video games. Maybe back in the playground, I needed to be right about video games. But, I'm in my mid-30s. I am quite happy to have my point of view and hear someone else's point of view. And these days, it's really cool to hear someone else who's had a totally different experience and thinks a totally different way. So if I bring up my experience, put it into video, maybe I get, half a dozen comments one day. And my System Shock video got a few comments, and I was really happy about that. And like the Dawn of War video got a few comments as well. And, that's another metric I'm really glad I'm hitting. Like, I'm not getting heaps, but just that little bit, it says that I'm doing the right thing enough that I'm just getting a trickle. And if it's a trickle one day, why not a waterfall? You know what I mean? So yeah, I would just love to be encouraging interesting video game discussions and be contributing to the discourse around video games in that way. Because I myself, obviously, I consume lots of long form YouTube videos about video games, and I find them very productive discussions. I don't always agree with the person making the video, and that's great. I really enjoy it when I don't necessarily agree with their experience, because it lets me meditate and feel my own experience more. It makes me go, hey, wait a second, that's not how that went at all for me. I felt like this. And it just kind of reaffirms where I stand and what I like about games. And it might point me in a direction and make me go, well, he might have been wrong about that, but I feel this about a game. So therefore, maybe I should go to this game that's got more of that. So while I'm talking about, long form videos on YouTube, I've obviously got a few inspirations that made me realize, hey, I can do that. I want to call out the biggest ones for me. There's sort of a holy trinity for me. Noah Cadwell Gervais, who I think no one's probably surprised that I'm mentioning. The other one is Ross's Game Dungeon. And no surprises, to complete my trinity, I will be adding in Mandalore as well. So Noah Caldwell Gervais, Ross's Game Dungeon, and Mandalore. If you don't watch these 3 long-form discussion video game channels, you should. I think those 3 channels are at the top of the game, in my opinion, and they're the ones that most inspire me, and I am most derivative of. I think I'm pretty dang derivative of them. I think I've caught myself even using a phrase or 2 I've heard in their videos accidentally. So, like, there is that. I do hope that for my channel, as time goes on, that I will become more and more idiosyncratic in my own right. I am a very idiosyncratic person. For anyone who actually knows me in real life, probably would agree with that sentiment. And as I get better and better at doing this, and it becomes more natural, more easy, and my process gets better, I would hope that would begin to shine through more and more. And I would become more of an identity in my own right and less derivative of great YouTubers like that. There is already, I don't know, hundreds upon hundreds of other long-form video game videos out there from other channels. And there's a lot of other really good makers who make them in other ways, other formats, have their own twists on them. And that's all really cool. I don't want to get too bogged down in sort of mentioning them. But at this moment, I feel like I don't super stand out from the crowd very much. But I am hoping, if I keep at it, that I will find my feet in that regard and find what it is that I can do that does make me stand out. So, you know, I'm just being honest there. I wish I could say, yo, this is the special little thing that I do that makes me really, really, really good as compared to other people. But I just don't have that yet, and I'm not going to lie about it. And that might be bad advertising, but I'm not into advertising. And I guess that's something I'll mention now. What a segue. Is that I plan on never advertising or taking advertising money. I mean, maybe that'll change. I really hope it won't, but, you know, all the best, not all the best, but a lot of YouTube channels, even good ones, take advertising money, particularly if they want to do it full time, but not all of them do. I would hope by accepting that this will be a really, really, really long, slow process, and that I plan to continue working regularly, that I never really have to go to advertisers. I don't want to even use the YouTube monetization aspect. I just want YouTube to host the videos and be where someone can find them. If this were to become a full-time thing for me, or in any way a financial thing, in even the smallest aspect, I would only be looking to get that from donations. You know, I would hope that it's a model where just a handful of my total viewers are just giving a tiny little bit of money, so that, like, you know, like $1 or $2 once a month or something. Like, if enough people give just like $1 or $2 once a month, that could be enough to make a big difference and ensure for them, if they really like what I do, that they, you know, regularly get that next video. Like, because for me, those like long form video game videos, they're like comfort food. I love nothing more than to have something nice to eat, something nice to drink, have Minecraft booted up, and have like a 3 or 4 hour like video about some video game running. That is like a good evening for me. I love that. And I don't know if you're listening to this, maybe that's the kind of thing you love to do as well. So yeah, very much not going for like an advertising model for what I do. Very much going for like donations only. One, I think it's more honest, and like, it's funny I'm talking about this because like I am so far from even being worthy of one donation yet. Like, you know, this is probably not something that will be relevant to the channel for years, like another 5 years or something. But nevertheless, this is how I feel about this concept, is that yeah, for starters, I think the kind of viewer the kind of person who likes these videos, I think, would be turned off by advertisers. The kind of person I want to donate money would be turned off by advertisements. I think advertisements also like unnecessarily interrupt and mess with the flow of videos like this, and I don't like that at all. And occasionally you get someone who can make an advertisement in their YouTube video that's really funny and engaging, but most of the time they're terrible. Like, and it sucks to hear your YouTuber who you like and is clearly working very hard to make their living, you know, reading some script about, I don't know, Made Maddo Medgens, not to actually give that brand a shout out, or, you know, for some really low quality earbud or something. I'm just not interested in any of that. And I think it would, turn off the sort of people who I really want to enjoy my videos, even the ones that aren't interested in giving any money. Not that I'm being given money, but you know, just even for the people who who just enjoy the content for free, like, which I would hope is 99.99% of people. I don't want to burden them with ads. I'd rather do this the long, hard, slow way, or have it forever stay as just this obscure thing I do on the side as a hobby, than have advertising. I just don't think it would be for the good of the content I make or the good of my life. I'd rather just work forever. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mentioned a few of my favorite YouTubers, and one of the things I noticed about those guys is they all kind of have their little thing. Like, Noah Cowboy has this thing at the start of every video where he usually writes the title of the video on a piece of paper and then, like, has a bit of classic rock music or something playing on, like, some old hi-fi equipment, and then he like burns the piece of paper or he hits it with his car or something. And then at the end, he, like, reads all of his donations out of a book where he's handwritten all their names down. And, like, that's his, like, extra little special twist thing that he does to make him feel a little bit like more like a unique individual. And it works really well. Or, like, Ross from Ross's Game Dungeon has his awards he gives out in his videos with he gets 3 awards that are kind of unique every video, that he kind of makes up every video, and that's like his little thing. Mandalore has that little tidbit at the start of every one of his videos, apart from his cool logo and stuff. He's got that little tidbit at the start that's just like a tiny little snazzy clip from his game. And, you know, there's a few other videos makers out there, like there's Civvy11, one of the other great YouTube video game makers, who, you know, has his whole, like, 3D rendered Unreal Engine, I'm stuck in a prison making videos thing going on. Like, that's really cool. So I thought I need my own little thing just to make me stand out that tiny little bit. So I decided, I'd write poems about my video game videos, about whatever video game I was playing for my video game video, because, I mean, I can write a poem about anything. Although, admittedly, probably not a very good poem, but a poem nevertheless. And you know, I wouldn't necessarily be trying to make like a special poem. Usually just like something silly and short is really what I'm going for. And, you know, just as like that little thing, so you can go, oh yeah, that channel, the channel with the poems. Like, it just gives you that tiny little hook to go, oh yeah, that one. No one else is kind of doing that exactly, or at least I don't think they are. One thing I just learned with the System Shock video where I forgot to do the poem is, which has been my most successful video, is that maybe having the poem right at the start was turning people off. People are clicking off immediately when they see that poem. So, oops, boo-hoo, I think my thing isn't working. But what I might do then is just from now on put the poem at the end of the video instead of at the start. So I've still got my little thing, but, you know, it doesn't immediately turn people off. Because admittedly, they're not very good poems. And, you know, a video game isn't much of a subject for a poem for people who actually like poetry. So, Yeah, that's what that's about. And I will continue to do it and stick with my little idea there. But yeah, I'll put them at the end of the videos from now on. So, how I make my videos is I write the script first, and that is by far the most time consuming part of the process. And the reason I write a script like that is because, as you can probably hear from this video, talking off the cuff it's just not very good. It just doesn't result in the sort of product I'm looking to put out there. It doesn't result in a nice consistency of voice. I'm sort of going for a style that's kind of relaxing and consistent in the delivery and doesn't have giant staccato pauses and ums and ahs and stuff all through it, which is what will happen if I try and talk off the cuff. If I talked off the cuff, things would go way, way, way faster, but the quality at the end of the day wouldn't be as good. And like my scripts, they aren't hugely edited things, as I'm sure you can tell. They're deliberately a little bit off the top of the head, because in the end I'm not trying to make something too formal here, too perfect. That a lot of people call these video essays, like the genre, more so than just the video game. You know what I'm talking about. They're called video essays. They're all over YouTube. I take a little bit of issue with that term in that some of them actually are essays, but most of them aren't, like the formal bit of writing that is an essay. It seems there's two definitions for the word essay. There's like the formal definition for essay that you might write in an academic context, and then there's this kind of way less formal use of the word that just kind of means a long piece of writing. Like I recently had the displeasure of listening to an audiobook that was called like 101 essays about life or something, and I thought it was going to be 101 academic arguments from a variety of subjects. Like, here's something about geology, here's something about science, here's something about, I don't know, socioeconomics, and it ended up being less like one woman talking about like problems 20-year-olds have and giving like really trite, conceited, basic life advice, like the things you hate most about other people is the thing you hate most about yourself, over and over again. And it was just like my fault for judging a book by its cover and seeing that word essay and thinking I was going to get essays, but also like the marketing there is super deceptive to me. But I guess if the word essay has this more vague meaning, I guess it's on point, and I should have just considered that before I went and bought and listened to it. Anyway, so yeah, there's YouTube video essays, and I'm not really trying to make video essays. Maybe by that second, like, sort of less formal meaning, that's what you call what I do. But to me, an essay is something that is quite formal. You're making an argument, you've got a thesis, and you're supporting that with some rigorous, like, textual evidence that you're pulling in from all over the place. Like, you've been to the library, yada, yada, yada. You've done this at school or university or whatever. And I'm really not trying to make that. While that is a valid thing you can do on YouTube, I think for that, the style of video I'm trying to create, which I mentioned before, like, I want to be able to sit down with, your chicken tendies and boot Minecraft and sit down for a few hours with a nice relaxing video about a video game. You're not necessarily looking for that rigorous, like, academic kind of an essay where you as a listener have to kind of think a bit yourself and really engage on that deeper kind of academic level. It's a little bit, I think, too much work for the audience for the kind of relaxing video I'm trying to make. So I'm not often looking to make that kind of a product that I would call an essay. So I'm really not going to call what I do video essays just because of that. Now, I'm not going to rule out that sometimes I won't go and, I don't know, pull quotes from books and try and, like, maybe do something a little bit more academically rigorous. I mean, not especially. I left that behind a long time ago. I don't think I'm much of an academic, but you know, I think that Minecraft video I made had a little tinge of the academic kind of process to it, but it's not something I'm looking to do often. So I don't think I'm making video essays here. I also like the other thing you hear them called is retrospectives a lot, and also reviews, which definitely I do make those two things. I'm not necessarily consistently making one or the other. And sometimes I don't know what you call what I make. They're just what I like to call what I make is discussions. So these scripts I produce are video games discussions. Sometimes they are in retrospective for an old game. Sometimes they are in review of a new title that's just come out. Sometimes they are just a discussion of an existing game for whatever reason. And that's all there is sort of to the labeling of what I do. That's why I try and title all my videos something different every single time that isn't just a review of this, a retrospective of this, an essay on this, etc. You know, that's why I've called it Surviving the System Shock Remake, or The Diegesis of Minecraft, or a dissection of Hades, or whatever. Like, I just try and come up with a new title every time. It's the least I can do is make up a new title for every video. But the point is, with my process, getting back to that point, is that when you write the script first for hours-long videos, you've got to write, like, you know, thousands and thousands and thousands of words, tens of thousands of words. Like, I find roughly 10,000 words is about an hour of recording. And that means 20,000 is about 2 hours, etc. So, that Dawn of War video, that was 75,000 words of writing. And, you know, that takes a long time to make. And that means the video takes a long time to make. And that is by far the most time-consuming part of the video. The second most time-consuming part of the video is, well, the trawling through the content you recorded, the hours and hours of video game footage, and finding the bits you actually need to make the video. I am still really at the beginning of this process and learning how to edit. I'm not much of a video editor. I'm pretty bad at it, as I'm sure you can tell from my videos. And I think people out there have much better processes than I do for getting organized in order to get the bits of the videos they need quickly. And I'm really still not sure how you do that. But that is also really time consuming. And then actually recording is quite time consuming too.
I'd estimate for every hour or so of actual, like, raw recording you do, you probably do like 30 minutes to 45 minutes of work editing it, and you probably, like, you lose some of that hour when you edit it. So, I don't know, say you recorded a 3 hours worth of recording, and then at the end of the day that video ends up being 2 hours and 20 minutes long, but you ended up doing maybe like 4.5 hours, 5 hours of actual work doing that recording. So that's a bit time consuming as well. And then there's actually the video editing itself, which can also be extremely time consuming, as anyone who knows how to edit will tell you, but especially so for an amateur like me who just does not know any of the shortcuts or has a good grasp on the skills. So that kind of, all of that wrapped up together, plus with my extremely small and finite amount of time I have available in my life to indulge in this hobby, adds up to why I don't release many videos and why they take so long to make. If in a theoretical future where I was successful and this channel was bringing in some money and that bought me time, I reckon I could pump out videos way faster. I reckon I could probably manage the one video a month, several hours long video a month at the very least. So, you know, theoretically that is the mythical goal on the hill that I'm aiming for one day. But, you know, let's be real. It's not happening anytime soon. It's not a realistic goal at this stage. But, you know, I would love to have that sort of time on my hands and just be able to get up and boot that video game and, you know, get a few hours of that video game in and then spend the rest of the evening writing and editing and just putting out video after video. That would be a real sweet way to be, I think. And one day in the future, I would like to maybe expand what I do a little bit. I would like one day to perhaps find a way to include a bit of music that I make myself into my videos. I did, the very first video I made, I did throw in a little like random recording I had sitting around on my computer, some silly like little thing at the end there. But I stopped doing that because I don't really have any recordings that are worth including. But once I move into my new place and I get all set up, it might be a much more realistic proposition when I've got a bit of a studio thing going on, that I might be able to include music, even if it is totally mediocre and only has a very brief role in what I make. And also, believe it or not, even though I don't make this kind of content at the moment, I can be kind of funny and kind of weird, and I can see the potential one day maybe to make sort of funny, weird, short videos about something, even if it's not video games. Whether that'll be on the same channel or a different channel, I don't know, but definitely there is that it's very appealing to make shorter content, easier to pump out content. The hours and hours long video content is very appealing because I like doing it. Writing tens of thousands of words about a video game I actually find quite satisfying and I really enjoy it. But in terms of the momentum of a channel and keeping a channel going, well, you know, it's very hard to do that with so little time on my hands, and it might be a lot easier to get some of that time back via a YouTube channel if your videos were shorter and that classic YouTube formula of being funny and a bit weird and a bit different that's worked so well for so many others. But, you know, then there's a lot more competition in that area as well, and you risk drowning in a sea of funny, weird videos that already exists. You know, I do think I'm much more likely to find a niche audience who I communicate with and have a really great parasocial relationship with by sticking to my guns with what I'm doing, but I don't rule out going for shorter, weirder content one day if I'm ever so inspired to. I do think one of the big reasons it's not so obvious to me is because that kind of content also requires a more sophisticated grasp on the software and editing tools and the behind the scenes process of making videos that I'm still developing. So perhaps as I learn more about that and I get better at putting videos out and my process gets better, it might become a little bit more obvious, comfortable and natural for me to produce shorter, funnier little snippets of content. Anyway, I think that's about it from me. This channel update actually took a lot longer than I thought it would, which, as I mentioned earlier, seems to always happen. I know no one out there was asking me questions and no one out there was asking for a channel update, but I hope for anyone who does bother to listen to this that it gives you an idea of where I'm at and what you can expect from me. Anyway, have a absolutely wonderful day or evening wherever you are, and I hope to see you again soon.